Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Ari. I am the Communications Associate for Mothering Justice. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight to our special edition episode of Mama Wire Live, Mama's Conversations. For those of you who are here for the first time, Mama Wire Live is Mothering Justice's monthly video series. And here we aim to inform you of the latest updates. And on tonight's episode is a special edition where we will be talking specifically on a hot topic amongst parents. If you're not familiar with Mothering Justice, we are a national Black women-led social justice nonprofit based in Detroit, Michigan, that empowers mothers of color to advocate for better U.S. policies and laws on behalf of themselves and their families on a local, state, and federal level. That includes us advocating for our Mama's Agenda, which includes access to affordable and quality childcare, reproductive justice, which essentially is quality maternal health care and abortion rights, equitable paid leave and earned paid sick time policies, and equitable basic policies or basic policies. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Tonight we have a great show in store for you as we focus on our or focus on individualized education programs or IEPs, as some of you may know, which is a hot topic, like I said, for a lot of parents right now. Um, if you don't know what an IEP is, IEP stands for Individualized Education Program. Some people also refer to it as the Individualized Education Plan. It is essentially laying out the special education instructions, supports, and services that students need to thrive in school, and IEPs are part of the pre-K through grade 12 public education. So now I want to introduce who we'll have as our guest tonight. We will bring in Nkenge Garner, who is our grassroots director at Mothering Justice and also our co-host tonight. And then Aisha, who is a mom of this from the Detroit area. So we are so glad to have them on tonight. And I will kick it over to Nkenge to get us started.
Thank you, Ari. And hi, Aisha. We're so glad to be having this conversation tonight because honestly, up until Ari said that a few minutes ago, I never even knew what the letters for IEP stood for. And I think a lot of us don't. We kind of know how it works, what it's for to some degree, but we don't know what it stands for. And also, if we have to utilize them, we often don't know where to start. And so many different parents have had different experiences, but we know that Aisha has organized around this within her personal life and offering assistance to other mamas. So, Aisha, can you help? We know the letters stand for now, thanks, Ari, but can you help us understand a little bit more why someone would utilize an IEP or what exactly is it?
So, in our individualized education plan, the IEP is utilized for it's for children to receive special education services, diagnosis. It could be autism, it could be impairment. For if they are if they're deaf, if they're blind, are just some of the things that check for.
Thank you so much. So we understand that it is used in many different cases, many different situations. So at what age typically do schools recognize that a student might need to utilize IEP?
Um, and my experience was initially called a ISP. I'm sorry. It's called family family plan. So in that ask for children that's age it's like 2 to 4, and are when they are in the GSRP program.
Okay.
begins in grade kindergarten on through, and then to some kids that continue secondary education, um, which is lost my train of thought. A post-secondary education, like in trade school here in Michigan, receives special education services of the only state um, particular program.
Okay. And in your personal experience, how was the notice? How was it delivered to you? How did the school let you know that you were about to start navigating the system?
For me, it began when my daughter was 1.5. I noticed that she was milestones, meaning she wasn't walking at a wasn't talking like she did a cool thing like some kids do. In fact, I took my daughter to her and I asked them, I informed, of the things that I noticed. Point on, she provided me with a referral program in which I really blew our hearts. Early on interventions, have children or that you and your child is not meeting their milestones, this is phenomenal. So we went. She received she also so once she aged out of that, able to go to the GSR and I'm sorry, the remember what the GSRP program. We went afterwards. GSRP program. So in that aspect, after the GSRP program, we were able to navigate.
Okay, sorry about that. We had a little audio issue. Okay. Awesome. Thank you in the chat. We are seeing that. Okay. So when you say you have good days and bad days, I'm gonna ask, was when you started navigating this, did the school offer any assistance to you as a parent, any support to you from what you would have to be going through, how this would change, how you interact with the schools, with other parents, things of that nature? Did they provide any parental resources?
The answer to that question is no.
Sorry, 1 second. Let me try to fix my audio. Okay. Say that again for me, Aisha. I'm sorry.
Okay, so in the beginning, my daughter was in school in Warren. Okay. And her GSRP teacher, as you could see my face lit up, when I had to have my first initial IFSC with her, she told me to do two things: bring a lunch and bring a notebook. And I was like, okay, what am I bringing this for? She stated to me that I was going to be there for quite some time,
to go through every section on the IEP with me and explain it to me in depth. At that moment, my daughter was about 5 years old, so I had no clue. You know, like she just told me, like, hey, you're gonna have to do this for the duration of her being in school. So, and that aspect, that prepared me for, you know, those upcoming years, kindergarten, first grade. Like, it really helped prepare me. So, for me, what started out with me educating myself on the tools that I would need to assist my daughter along her educational journey, I developed a passion for it. So in that aspect, like, I have really enjoyed advocating. Like, do I get frustrated sometimes? Yes, I do. However, it's been a great experience.
That's wonderful. So what advice would you, it's wonderful that was she a mom, the person who told you to bring a lunch?
No, she was a teacher.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad that an educator gave you some tips, but you being now in this situation of having been working this and learning IEPs for a few years now, what advice would you give to a mother who may have recently got the news that she is going to have to get an IEP for her child?
Go in with an open mind. That's the best thing that's advice. Go in with an open mind. Don't allow it to deter you, because at the end of the day, it's your child. So in that aspect, think of it as nourishment. You know, what do we have to have nourishment to our body in order to, you know, live that. So in that aspect, your child is going to need these services to assist them within navigating the education system. And it's okay. You know, sometimes the road, it gets weary. You may feel like as though, you know, you're defeated. But in that aspect, like, don't give up. I always tell people to find them a support system. And your support system is not always going to be, you know, your family. But shout out to my family, because they are truly phenomenal. Hands down, from my grandmother to my dad, cousins, uncles, aunts. My family has been very supportive. They, you know, have been very helpful. If I need a moment, time for myself, they're there. If I need a vacation, they're there. If I need to vent, you know, they're there. If I want to say, hey, I've had a long day, you know, like, let's have a glass of wine. They're coming. So in that aspect, like, you have to, you know, find you family, not just family, but friends that's gonna rock with you on this journey.
Absolutely. So we spoke a little bit about this before, and we talked about the very real possibility of moms having that moment of breakdown where we think things like, why did this have to be my baby? Or why do I have to go through this? And the guilt that may accompany that. I feel like you being able to express that so well probably happened after like years of dealing with this, because mom guilt is so heavy. Like, we're never allowed to have a moment where we're not over the moon in love with our child and our situation all the time. How do you deal with experiencing that guilt, and when you have those feelings of why me, why my baby?
So in the beginning, I did say why me, but why not me? You know, I'm a firm believer that, you know, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors. So in that aspect, why not me? It was funny because when my daughter first got diagnosed, and I'm just being honest, transparent, I'm live. It was my stepdad. I was sitting on the couch crying, and I cried for 5 days. And he came home from work on the 5th day, and like, basically, he gave me a reality check. Hey, like, did your tears make her an appointment today? You know, did your tears her appointment? What did your tears help her do? And at that moment, I thought that was the worst thing that anybody could have said to me as I was, you know, going through it, because is just like the grieving process. You know, like they say it's 5 stages, you know, to grieve. So I wasn't ready to accept the fact that, you know, my child had a developmental delay, because that's what they, you know, refer to it as, you know, being. But after he said that to me, okay, I got up. I made her some appointments. We did speech therapy. We did occupational therapy. What else did we do? Speech, occupational, work. I was working full time. She was in school. So to single mom, where there's a will, you know, there's a way. Like you can do it. Like don't allow it to defeat you. Like that's the one advice that, you know, I want to give. And then too, sometimes people look at the stigma. You know, quote unquote, I don't want my child to be labeled.
Right.
But the aspect, we all have different labels, different titles. I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm an aunt, I'm a niece, I'm a friend. So in that aspect, we all wear different hats and, you know, different labels, and we all don't learn the same.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad we're trying to get to a place where we respect and respond to different learning styles. I feel like that's unfortunately relatively new in education, but yeah. So I'm going to pivot to a Facebook comment. Sandra says to always take notes and bring a second set of ears because we all hear things differently. I think that is wonderful advice because especially when it comes to our child, there is no way to not hear that news with a bit of emotion and protection. As you spoke about your support system earlier, when you went to her the appointments in the beginning and was learning, you know, what is a speech therapist? What do they do? All of these different things that you may not have thought you would have to be dealing with. Were you able to bring support people with you? Did you keep a notebook? Did you log it? How did you work that?
So earlier I talked about her teacher with the notebook. So in that aspect, I've always kept a notebook. I call it my J Bible.
Okay.
That's where I write down everything as it relates to doctor's appointments, what we discuss, meetings with teachers, anything that has to do with her healthcare, IEP is all in this book. And I drop it in my purse and I have it at each appointment. When I went to her appointments, my mom, that's who came to the appointments, with me. All the time. She would be like, hey, if she couldn't get the day off, I need you to reschedule this appointment. And I used to be like, Mom, it's my baby. Like, I can go. It's both of us. We're going. So that aspect, even to this day, if I kind of call my mom and say, hey, Mom, I have an IEP, and I ask her, to come to the meeting with me, or can she, attend virtually, she's there. Like, she knows what an IEP is, but she's there as my support. And as Sandra said, that second set of ears.
You mentioned some of the stigma that comes with it, and unfortunately, we are already born with so many labels and things that have to do with our identity. And we know that there are mothers or parents who absolutely mean well and mean their children no harm, but often don't get them the support that may help them thrive because they're afraid of those labels, they're afraid of that stigma and what it might, the harm it might cause their child, right? We want to protect our kids from everything, including labels. How have you, using your J Bible and just the time and how everything is going, how have you been able to process and notice her growth, her personal growth throughout this?
Processing her personal growth. So my daughter she's a little prima donna. Like she loves, ever since the age of 3, like I would take her to get her hair braided because like I'm a mom of a man. So she just recently went to high school and she wants to like wear her hair different. Like, she wants to get the weave and like she doesn't like getting her nails done, but I'm open to it. Like the conversations that we have something that's bothering her. You know, her phrase that she uses is, "Hey, mommy, can I kick you with you?" Of course, I keep that line of communication, you know, open with her because of the fact that I want her to, you know, be able to come and, you know, talk to me about, you know, whatever the subject is. Even though sometimes, like, some things, did she just really talk to me about that? Like,
Yes.
let me have a moment. But in that aspect, like, seeing her blossom has been a beautiful, you know, thing. I consider her like a flower. You know, you plant that seed and you watch that flower grow. And seeing the beautiful young lady that she has come into now, like, I'm very, very proud of her because, as I tell her, she's the one that goes to school that deals with those challenges every day. So because of her diagnosis, you know, she has to sit there and figure out the work, block out the noise, you know, put her best foot forward. So I support her, you know, and I let her know, like, let's keep this line of communication, you know, open. Like, we use positive incentives. And I think sometimes as parents, like, we don't think outside the box. And I'm going to use myself for example. My daughter has therapy. So in that aspect, they say that we have to use positive incentives. So for me, I'm like, no, I'm not giving her a reward, you know, because she does something right. But all actuality, and I mean, like, I was thinking, like, with money, but no, it could be extra game time or her to maybe watch a show with me, or perhaps she gets to stay up, you know, 30 minutes past her bedtime. Yes, we still do have bedtime periods, even though she's in high school. Like, she still has bedtime. But nonetheless, like, I use those incentives to help motivate her, because think about it. Think about how many times, like, you've been at work and you, like, bust your butt on a presentation or a certain event that, you know, your job was having, and your boss didn't tell you, like, you knew you worked hard, and your boss didn't tell you, you know, good job. It's the same thing with our children. Like, you know, you have to praise them. So for me, that was like a hard part.
Okay, that's honest. That's really honest. I think a lot of times I've been the same way, and maybe many other moms have been the same way. It's like, you did what you were supposed to do. Like, what you don't get no pat on the back for that. But if it works for your baby and keeps them feeling good, you make sure it happens. So we have another question. Are there any accommodations you would recommend parents ask to have included in their child's IEP?
So first and foremost, you are your child's biggest advocate. If parents take anything away from this stream today, you are your child's biggest advocate. So for me, I typically look at how my daughter's strengths, and also those things that she needs to enhance. So in that aspect, I ask them to, the enhancements, use those strengths to build, you know, to build it up. So in that aspect, that's typically something that we take into consideration. I look at areas that, you know, she needs, you know, areas that she has, you know, difficulty in. As far as accommodations, some accommodations may be, okay, your child may need a break, or your child may need to go to small group class sizes for English, or small group class sizes for math. So in that aspect, that's an accommodation that you can request. I always instruct parents to put your request in writing. Anything as it pertains to your child's education, IEPs, conversations, put it in writing. If you have a meeting with the principal, follow up with an email behind, because why black and white supersedes anything at all. And like, black and white is everything. Like, you need that black and white.
So let me ask you, scenario. I asked for in my child's IEP that he gets to go to small group or whatever. I asked, put it in writing, send it to the principal. They come back to me and say, or they just don't do it. I find out they don't do it. and they come back and say, you know, we just don't have the staff for that, or something like that. What is my follow-up?
So for me, it's always important to follow those chain of command, because when you go to the highest person, they just automatically contact the superintendent. The superintendent may say, hey, we need to dwindle this down, and you contact the teacher. So in that aspect, for me, like you ask, but in all honesty, I'm gonna be as transparent as possible. A lot of these schools, they cover up. Like they don't tell you what what's really going on, or what's really, what has really transpired. I'm sorry if you hear some noise. It's my daughter coming in here. She wants to know what's going on. But they don't really tell you, everything that's going on within the school setting. So, you may have to find out, do a pop-up visit.
Okay.
What's transpired. And if not, the school has to comply with MARS, which is the Michigan Administrative Rules for Special Education. That's for Michigan.
Can we drop that? So is it just mars.gov, mars.com?
It would be mars.gov, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I know that offhand, but I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We're going to figure it out. Yeah, so we would contact MARS. They have to, that's their compliance officer type thing.
Yes.
Okay.
But it has to be in compliance with IDEA as well, which is Individuals with Disability Education Act.
Okay.
And then you also have, is it ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act.
Okay.
So those are 3.
So say those again for us. We got MARS, MARS. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah, screen.
Administrative Rules for Special Education. That's very important. Like that is over a 300-page, document. I always tell parents too that after that IEP, ensure that you receive a copy of your procedural safeguard. So in the event that you have to file a formal complaint, perhaps against the school, the state of Michigan, you can go through those procedural safeguards to cite what I had lost my train of thought. To cite what the school is in non-compliance with.
Okay.
So it's very important. Like, even though I have received 1,000 of those procedural safeguards, I still ask at the end of every IEP, excuse me, can you please ensure that you provide me with my list of procedural safeguards? Because what tends to happen is it's a section on the IEP that they can select to say, no, the parent didn't request this, or no, they decline.
Okay. We're going to come back to that, but I want to address this question because, yeah, and often paperwork I felt is written to be misleading on purpose. But we have a question. Can an IEP address social emotional concerns?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
It can. Because there are kids that have social and emotional diagnosis. So yes, an IEP can. But I always suggest to parents that Michigan Alliance for Families, that is a great resource for parents to go to if they have questions about special education. And they often have free letters that are pre-written that you just basically fill in with your observations regarding your child.
Okay. That's wonderful, because I think many people, myself included, might have assumed that it was strictly about education. Like that's the only thing they had to tend to. So it's a good question. Okay, awesome. If family is not available, who can be part of your support system? Who else can you have in the room with you who can support you through this if your family can't come?
Anybody.
Okay.
A friend. You can ask the mailman. Anybody to come to be a part, of your support system. You can get an advocate, if you like. It's only up to you, for that support. And I mean, if they ask like, hey, who is this individual? Like I've sat in IEP meetings and I'll let them know. I'm here for support. Like I don't let them know that, hey, I'm an advocate. No, I'm here to support this mom, for her IEP.
Okay. So you've supported other moms through their journeys. How do you find each other, and how do you offer support to one another?
So for me, I am a lot of parents are not familiar with the Wayne County, Wayne County Parent Advisory Committee.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Wayne County? I'm going to refer to as WCPAC. That's the initial. A lot of parents are not aware that each county has a PAC. And this is the PAC is composed of parents that have children that receive special education services within the school district. So what transpires is each intermediate school district has to select 2 representatives for their district, up to 2. Unfortunately for my daughter's school, it's just myself because for various reasons. In Wayne County, Detroit Public Schools, they can have up to 5 PAC members, and that is because BPSCD is they're so broad.
Okay.
Charter schools can have 1 PAC representative. So in that aspect, if parents are familiar with PAC, then they typically, will go to their school board office and ask for their PAC reps information, or they may contact Wayne Risa, or they may see another parent that has a child that receives special education services, and they may ask. So you meet parents at like various outings. Like for me, I had great parent support for moms that I work with. When I first started out on my journey, I had no clue, like not a clue at all. But it was 2 moms, managers that I work with, and they gave me the resources and the tools that I needed to get the services for my daughter. Also, like I said, various outings. Michigan Alliance for Families, when they used to host their in-person workshops, you meet parents there. So it's pretty much anywhere. Either word of mouth too. Like, hey, I know a lot of my family members, if they know of a mom that has a child that receives special education services, they'll say, hey, my cousin, she advocates well for her daughter. I'm going to have her contact you, or, can you help this mom get, this child the services that they need? So it's just basically word of mouth.
Is there a one-stop kind of resource list for you? You dropped a lot of wonderful places, but I feel like often all of those because you've been, you go here, you learn one here, you learn one here, and you learn it on your own the hard way, right? But is there a one-stop shop? Like, let's say I'm realizing my child isn't hitting milestones. I'm talking to the school. I'm figuring out that we need to develop this plan, and I want to utilize these resources. Where do I go to find all of them?
Michigan Alliance for Families has a great website.
Okay.
And it's basically self-explanatory. It has like special education resources. You can click on the letter for any topic that you want to talk about. So, for example, you stated that if you want your child to, you have questions, you think that your child needs an IEP. If you go on there, select the letter I, it'll say IEP checklist, how to request an IEP. It gives you from A to Z. It's very, topics regarding special education services.
Okay. And
if you think that your child has Autism Alliance of Michigan, it's another great resource for families. If you need they connect you with a navigator, and that navigator will call you. The navigator assists you, along the way for whatever service child needs, no matter how old the child is.
Okay, awesome. We have a comment that anyone can be an advocate. You can request a pay advocate from the jurisdiction where your school falls. Okay, cool. So they do have folks on staff who it is their job to advocate, and we also have the PACs that you talked about. There is support. Do you believe that it's easy to find and utilize the support?
Honest opinion, no, it's not always easy to find and utilize, especially within the inner city. It's hard to get advocates to, support me. I don't mind doing it because, as I stated, what started out for me, educating myself about my daughter and the resources that she needed, I developed the passion for it. Because at the end of the day, we all need support. We all need someone to assist us and help us, along the way. So for me, I don't mind coming into, going into the inner city and the underserved communities to say, hey, you need some assistance, Mom? Here I am. What's going on?
What would you say IEPs need, or not IEPs themselves, but what is missing from finding out that, or understanding that a child needs a plan and it being carried out, even if it's carried out with the best support of the schools, home, all of that? What are missing pieces that we as a society have not built into this yet? Where are we lacking?
One is training. The educators, not just special education educators, but general education. The secretary, the janitor, they all need training. I can't express that enough, that it needs to be training here. It also needs to be, a bit of more of compassion instead of, saying, well, I didn't go to school for special education. You need to have compassion for that child because that child is human too.
I love the idea of everybody, from folks who are contracted in to do whatever, window cleaning, whatever, any involvement where they may come in contact with a child that they have training. Yeah, absolutely.
Training is important. The compassion needs to be there. So in that aspect, it's a lot of areas. As I have to tell teachers all the time, be mindful what you write in the IEP. Because sometimes the language, you'll think that the child is basically incompetent. We all have our different ways of learning. I'm this type of person, and I know that I'm Facebook Live, but if you provide me with instructions to put together a bookshelf, I'm not going to use those instructions. I'm going to put the bookshelf together. And they have screws missing, but it's sturdy. So, that's my way of putting the bookshelf together. I'm a hands-on person. Not saying that. Who has time to sit there and read 5 pages of instructions and you're turning back and forth? So in that aspect for me, we can all do the same thing in different ways to get the same results.
Yeah, and that's a great example. I think about my oldest child is very good at putting things together, but he will read instructions 2 or 3 times before he opens the whole thing. It's wonderful. I do it like you. I put it together to stand up. I did it right. And that is very much respect to different styles of seeing something through, seeing the end of it and getting it done. Absolutely. And we can respect that. We generally respect that in people who we respect, right? But once we start to bring in other factors of things that we don't respect or we don't see as capable, then they have to do it a certain way, or we're a little less lenient in that situation. Earlier you mentioned list of safeguards. I believe I captured that right. Can you speak?
Safeguards.
Say that again.
Procedural safeguards.
What are those, and do you always get them, or is this something we want to make sure mamas know they need to be asking for?
It's something that you want to ensure that mamas ask for after the IEP. It should come with, and I know that now we're in the video world, virtual world, but in that aspect, I still request my paper copy, hard copy of my daughter's IEP with a copy of those procedural safeguards because it protects you.
Okay. Now let's say I don't know to ask for it. I've been doing this 3-4 months. I didn't know to ask for it. Can I go back at any point and ask for this?
You can, but it's always rule of thumb that you obtain it the same day as your IEP. Some schools may give you the IEP the following day because of the fact that they may not have collected, all of the signatures, but they are supposed to ensure that those procedural safeguards are there.
Okay. And who would you say is as a parent, who am I going to need to build relationships with within the school itself?
Whoever comes in contact with your child. I have a saying when I typically go to my IEP. I let them know your IEP team consists of like the principal, the director of special education, your child's case manager, maybe one of their general education teachers, and maybe perhaps like their resource room teacher.
Okay.
But I like to inform them that we're not here to see what works best for you, but what works best for me is what works for the child in their learning environment, and how they learn and what services and supports that they need. Because sometimes people they like to input themselves into the equation.
Yeah.
But I'm not there learning, so it's not what works for me. Like you're the teacher, you're giving an instruction, but the child may not learn. With the utensils or tools that you want them to learn with. So in that aspect, you have to figure out a way to reach that child.
Yeah. That's for anything. We have to keep that in mind, right? Because we do, like you said, as a mom, I'm doing what's most convenient for me. As a teacher, I'm doing what is going to get it done for everybody on average. But when we pull out these individualized plans, that's what they actually need to be. And we are not the center of the situation. Did you have to at any point have a conversation with your daughter about why she might have needed a different type of support within her school than some of her classmates?
Yes, we have had conversations.
Okay.
About it, and she asked me. Well, actually, she brought the conversation to me. I didn't take it to her. So why did you tell me? I didn't like. We don't treat her any different. Like family, friends, nobody treats her any different. Number one, she's not gonna allow you to.
Yeah.
You ask, why are you talking to me like that? So in that aspect, I guess it's the way that I was raised, and I'm I don't treat her any different than any other child that I come in contact with. Even though she's my only child, I have no other kids to compare her to. But
yeah, we talked a little bit last night about your expectations of her, and that the way that the conversation happened, I feel like expectations are a form of love. I know you can do something, and you will do something, and you will understand it. If I got to figure out how to explain it to you differently, that's on me. But I believe in you, and that's why I have expectations on how you're gonna behave and how you're gonna receive what I'm doing for you as a mom.
Let me tell you how proud I am of my daughter. When we first got her, received her diagnosis, her pediatrician told me that she would never walk, she would never talk, she would never be in a general education setting, she would not be able to learn. Today, my daughter is in 9th grade. When she graduated from junior high school, she graduated with honors.
Yes.
She graduated in the National Junior Honor Society. Like, within her 8th grade class, like her class rank last year was number 9. So, when somebody tells me that something is impossible, like, no, all things are possible. So it's just that you just have to take the time out, like with your child, and teach them, show them, give them all those supports that they need. And that's something that I tell my daughter, and I stand firm on. I provide you with all of the support that you need. And it's up to you to grasp a hold of. Like, you can never say that my mom didn't ensure that I had these supports, or my mom never came to the school, because that's not true. Like, my number one job on this earth right now is to ensure that she succeeds in whatever it is that she wants to do. If I don't do that by getting her the necessary support, I'll fail. And at the end of the day, the world is going to hold me, accountable. Like nobody else. Like, she's going to hold me accountable when the world is. So in that aspect, I can't fail at my job. Like, I have to do what's necessary, for her. And that's important.
That is so important. And I just really want to acknowledge, first of all, that pediatrician is just off the hook for that. Like, I just want to acknowledge that we in these situations where we as moms, we're dealing with folks who went to school to medically treat our babies, or went to school to educate our babies or take care of them or whatever. Your child better than any course they could have studied. And I'm not discounting anyone's education or anyone's profession, but my heart breaks to know that your pediatrician would say that to you about your baby, and then your journey is in opposition of the person that was supposed to help you care for her, or a person that was supposed to help you care for her, instead of in community with the person that was supposed to help you care for her. And that it is so heartbreaking that sometimes as moms, we have to go into, no, I'm going to show you, instead of, no, we're going to do this together, against doctors, educators, whomever. It's wonderful that we're going to do it and go to bat for our babies, but it's horrible that we have to. So in building, we've talked about support systems a lot, and building these support systems, if you feel yourself arguing with somebody about your baby's ability to do what your baby can do, that is not a support system. I don't care what their title is in your life, at their job, none of that. That is a wild, grossly, and to be so grossly wrong about this child, right? To not just be slightly off, but so grossly wrong. I'm sorry you had that experience, but I love that your daughter was like, yeah, okay, we gonna see. And we have a comment: what a powerful example of a mother's never-ending love and dedication. Absolutely.
Yes. Mom's right. Dad's right too, but mom's right.
Yes. I love that. You can't tell us nothing about these babies. So as we start to begin to wrap this convo up, I just want to ask, we love babies at Mother and Justice, but we love mamas. That's what we're here for. Mother and Justice is about the mamas. So we love a good baby story, but more than that, we want to know about you, and we want to use this opportunity for you to speak to other mamas who might be at that elementary age, that fresh diagnosis age, or that frustrated, I don't know what I'm gonna do, why me crying on the couch moment. If you could just talk to them about how to make it through some very, very basic. I hate when folks talk about self-care in this way of like backpacking Europe. Like, no, some self-care that they can utilize and grab off of their shelf immediately whenever they might need that. If you could talk to those mamas and offer them whatever support you can in this way.
So, as Felicia Cass stated, it's powerful that mothers have a never-ending love and dedication. That's number one. Your love, it definitely is going to take it over the top. Like, you gonna go to the end of the earth for your child. I say number one, when you find out that your child has a diagnosis, accept it. Like that's the first thing. Like learning to accept that diagnosis and internalize it. Like internalize it, not externalize it. Like internalize it within yourself to say, you know, let's internalize this. Secondly, you're gonna have moments that you're gonna cry, you're gonna scream, you're gonna yell, you're gonna want to punch the wall, you're gonna call your friend and cry about it. But guess what? It's okay because you're human. Like, don't think that this journey is easy. I think my mama, she probably got tired of me calling her crying, but it's okay. Crying clears the soul. But in that aspect, I'm happy that I did have somebody that I could talk to. Like, you have to talk to someone. Talk to a therapist. Talk to your friends. Be mindful of the biases that people, you know, are going to have. Like, don't always react to a situation. If all fails, as I say, grab a cocktail. Like, I will have a cocktail after a long day if I feel like I'm defeated, or if I've had a day with my daughter. I will grab me a nice cocktail and sit and cross my legs and drink it. Like, it's okay. You know, you're gonna have those days where you're gonna be defeated. You may feel like you're defeated. You don't feel like cleaning up. It's okay. Because why? You're human. Like, that's the number one thing that I want you to know is that you are human. You're gonna have good days. You're gonna have bad days. But just know that it is gonna be okay. In the beginning, you would not have been able to tell me that I was gonna be this first on Facebook Live speaking to anybody about navigating the IEP process. Because I had no clue. But at the end of the day, just know that it's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's going to be okay. Get with those Wayne County Parent Advisory Representatives or whatever the pack is in your county. Make sure you stay abreast with your child's IEP. Keep all copies of the IEP. And if all fails, please, you can inbox me on Facebook. My name is Aisha Shanae on Facebook. And I'll assist you along the road. Thank you, Mother and Justice and NKA for this opportunity. I have truly enjoyed it.
Thank you, Aisha, for being available to us, to every mom, every person you've ever provided support to, for everything you've had to learn and navigate for your baby. I am going to pass the mic back to Ari. Thank you, everybody who was able to join us tonight.
Hey, thank you both. That was just such an amazing conversation. I learned so much. I honestly never heard of the IEP program system, so that was just very, very informative, and I definitely will pass along these resources. Thank you again, Gary, for hosting this amazing conversation, and thank you again, Ida, for joining us and sharing your story and experiences. It's very much so needed. Just for other parents to know that they have that support out there and that they're not alone. So we appreciate everybody in the audience for joining us tonight. Lastly, if you have any questions or if you want to just keep up with MJ, please follow us on our social media accounts. We are at Mothering Justice on Instagram and Facebook, and Mom Justice on Twitter. You can also reach out to us via our website at motheringjustice.org. And we want you to have a wonderful night.